What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we got news of another Digimon promo pack, which is going to be coming out in Japan. Remember, we had the original promo pack, which actually made its way out in a bunch of different places. It was given out at some early events, it was given out in magazines, there were a bunch of places to pick it up. Now, just very recently, I showed you about a promo booster pack with 4 black and 4 purple cards in. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. And now it seems there is another pack which is unfortunately being given out in tournaments. And I say unfortunately because I want one of these. And hopefully it'll end up being given out in a magazine like all the rest of them have been over in Japan. Or I'll be able to find a way to get it some other way. But essentially, there are a bunch of tamer battles going on over in Japan, and when you enter one, you get yourself 4 promo cards. Now, the one thing I will say here is that at least these 4 promo cards are being given out as alternate art, and that is a good thing. They're being given out as alternate art cards, which at least means that you don't need these cards. They're cool. There is a very good chance that you will want them, but at least we can turn around and go, well, you know what? We can live without these cards. They're cool. I want them. I'd like to have them. But actually, if I end up not having any of these cards, you know what? I can live with that. It's not too bad. Now, 3 of them are actually reprinted from the starter decks, and then one of them isn't, but then again, it's a green card, and there was no green starter deck, so I think it's probably reasonable to forgive that they haven't given us a green starter deck card when there's no such thing as a green starter deck. That, ladies and gentlemen, would be frankly rather weird. Now, the green card that didn't come from a starter deck in question is Digimon. That level 5 that we got in New Evolution. There are no purple or black, unfortunately. Just the 3 original colours plus green, or the 4 original colours. I'm going to let you decide which one of those is the better phrasing. So, Digimon here is a 7 cost to play normally, 2 cost to evolve, 6,000 power level 5. And it's got an inheritable skill whereby when you attack, if there are 2 or more of your opponent's Digimon at rest, you gain 1 memory. And I like this one, I do. I'm a big fan of this card. I think gaining memory is one of the most powerful things you can do in the game. And a lot of the time your opponent will have 2 or more Digimon at rest. So, I'm kind of cool with this, if I'm honest with you. This is a very cool card. Now, rumours are that we're seeing a lot of green decks doing quite well over in Japan at the moment, and apparently green is starting to get, let's say, a little bit better than it has been previously. As always, we do need to take anything with just a little bit of a pinch of salt, but certainly DTCG Review over on Twitter has been telling us about green doing rather well. Now, unfortunately, I am having a quick look at the green deck list that has been shown. It doesn't play this particular card. There are other level 5s it goes for instead, which is a little bit sad, but I still think the extra memory here is cool. The blue card in question is the Digimon, which came around in the starter decks. It is a 6 cost to play normally, 3 cost to evolve, 7,000 power Digimon, and when you evolve into it, you remove 2 evolution sources from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. Now, the good news is that I have been seeing a bunch of blue decks running around lately, and I have been seeing this Digimon pop in them. Not all of them, mind you, but bearing in mind a lot of the old Force Digimon decks, they are very much built on the Digimon line, so you shouldn't be particularly surprised to not see it popping up in there. But in more general blue decks, I've seen a bunch of this Digimon. Probably because you remove multiple evolution sources. And I do think it largely is as simple as that. Removing multiple evolution sources is a very, very good thing, and it really does hurt your opponent and really slow them down quite a lot. I mean, as a level 5, it's moderately powerful, but not over the top. And it's moderately cheap to play normally, but it's not any cheaper to evolve. And this is a card you definitely want to be evolving into rather than playing normally, so it's cool, and it sees a bunch of play. Now, the yellow card in question is Angel Woman. And in theory, Angel Woman is amazing. 6 cost to play normally, 3 cost to evolve, 7,000 power, nothing to write home about. Fine, just not spectacular. But when you evolve, if you've got 3 security or less, you recover 1. And this is a weird kind of deck. Or a weird kind of card to go into a weird kind of deck, I suppose. Because on the one hand, this is clearly a very, very good card. Because you're recovering. And recovering is awesome. And on the other hand, it's very situational. The recovery is awesome. Recovery lets you put a card from the top of your deck down as an extra security card to get your opponent further away from winning the game. But the issue here becomes, what if you don't have 3 security or less? What if you got 4, 5, 6 or more security? Then all of a sudden you end up in this super awkward situation where you can evolve into it, but you're not getting any use from it, and it just gets kind of awkward. Great card, but let's just say rather situational, so take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Have I said that already in this video? I feel like I might have done. And then the red one we see is Metalgreymon. Now, Metalgreymon is another one of these that has popped up in a bunch of red decks here and there. 7 cost to play normally, 3 cost to evolve, 7,000 power, nothing particularly great. But it's got an inheritable skill whereby if you're blocked, you get +3 memory. Now, bearing in mind, I was telling you earlier in the video that gaining 1 memory is pretty gosh darn good. You can probably imagine how good I feel about getting an extra free memory. And this is why we see this popping up in red decks here and there, because you really do get the extra memory. Now, again, this is not guaranteed. It's a bit situational. It's a little bit awkward because it's up to your opponent. Your opponent can block, and if your opponent blocks, you get the memory. But if your opponent chooses not to block, you don't get the memory. But then, of course, the goal here is really just to put your opponent into a super awkward situation. Either they block and you get extra memory, yay, or they don't block, and then your attack goes through. And bearing in mind, there are going to be a lot of situations where your opponent kind of has to block, where you're going after one of their resting Digimon that they cannot part with, or you're going after their security in a situation where they just cannot spare a security. It gets you too close to winning the game. So yes, on the one hand, this is slightly in the hands of your opponent, but you should be able to engineer quite a few situations here and there where actually it's not really up to your opponent. They are essentially forced into blocking, and when you force them into blocking, you get the extra memory, and that's kind of beautiful. Now, there is another card going here, and this is probably going to get its own video in a couple of days' time. If you win, you get yourself this Metalgreymon. And you'll notice it is exactly the same as the one that comes in the promo pack, which in and of itself is exactly the same as the one that came in the starter deck. So this isn't going to be some ridiculous playability thing, but it is the coolest, most exclusive version of it. And I've played enough trading card games for enough time to know that the coolest, most exclusive version is going to be the one that a lot of people are going after. I love this. I like prize cards generally. I think prize cards generally are very, very cool. And I know that it encourages people to go to tournaments. And remember, the more people we have in tournaments, the more successful this game ends up being, the better it does generally, and the more likely it is to get an international release, etc. Though obviously at the moment, with everything going on in the world, you do need to be slightly careful about attending tournaments, etc. But I think we've all talked enough about those kind of things lately. Frankly, I love this. I like the alternate art cards, because they're nice exclusive cards if you can go to the tournament, but if you can't make the tournament, all you're missing out on is the artwork and the collectability factor. These aren't really super playable, and that's what generally tends to annoy people about promos. People get annoyed at promos when they're super playable and super hard to get a hold of, so at least here what we've got is promos which are beautiful and fun and collectible, but we're not going to end up in a situation where somebody's winning with a deck that you cannot play because you don't have access to the promo cards. Either way, I'm loving this, and this seemed like the kind of thing I should share. So I did. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to you guys. What do you think about the artwork on these new cards? I've had the whole way through the video, I've had the old artwork and the new artwork side by side. Easy to make a comparison, so tell me what you think. Do you love these new cards? Do you prefer the old artwork? How much do you want one of those full art Metalgreymons? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy. That's where we talk Digimon and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.